What is up, guys? The day has finally come. The PSE EVL 34. I'm actually gonna be shooting this bow this year. Mine is still on the way. We literally got 4 of these on Monday, so this is Tuesday night. We got 4 of these on Monday, and this is the only one I have left, which is the demo. And I almost sold this one last night before I got to do the review today. So if how popular this bow has been in the last day, hopefully that's an indicator of how well it actually shoots and performs. So there's been a lot of hype around this bow. Pretty much nobody has them. Like, our rep said that the 4 we got was more than he's seen in the last 3 stores he's been to combined. So definitely a hard bow to get right now, which is just kind of the world we live in, unfortunately. But we're gonna jump into the technical side of things on this, and then we're gonna do the speed test as usual. So this is the PSE EVL 34. As the name would suggest, it is 34 inches axle to axle. Has a 6 3/4 inch brace height, but still comes in at 338 feet a second. So the 32 only has a 6-inch brace height, but that's coming in at 344. So this is only 6 feet a second slower, but you're getting 3/4 of an inch more brace height. It's like 4.7 pounds, 4.6 pounds. So, you know, pretty average for a bow that length. This is the EC cam, which, unless you specify, so they have the EC and the SE cam. The SE cam is kind of their high performance cam. It doesn't go as long in draw length, and it does draw a little bit stiffer, but this is the EC cam. So this bow will go from 26 to 31.5 inches in draw length. So gonna fit most of you longer draw guys. Like all their Evolve cams, it has the adjustability in your let off there to go between 80 and 90%. I'm probably gonna shoot mine at 80, but for this review, we're gonna do the speed test and everything at 85. So basically it has all the same features that the 32 has. If you saw the 32 review, you know, this might be a little redundant, but they do have some new features on this bow this year. So it's the same cam system, it's the same Evolve cam system, but they did make this comes with the kind of the hard yoke, so the yoke is woven through here, and it allows me to actually use those yokes kind of like you would on a Hoyt to tune out a right or left tear a little bit. Now, this isn't going to move, you know, if I have a 2-inch tear or something, which I haven't seen yet on these, but if I did, you're not going to do that with the yokes. In that case, you're going to need to use the Shim system here. Now, last year, the Shim system was, I mean, it worked, but it was very difficult to get into. There was not hardly any space in here. You know, it was like 4 or 5 tiny little washers on one side and 1 or 2 on the other. So when you'd pull the axle out, they'd all fall out. This year, you can see they really widened the limb and the axle here. So this limb is another, I think it's like a 1/2 inch wider total. And so 1/4 inch on, you know, either side here. And there's a lot more space to get in here. And if you need to use those shims, and instead of being a bunch of little spacers, there's like a big one on each side and then just a couple smaller ones. So less to deal with, less time consuming to get in and out of the press and get those shims swapped over. You can tell by, sorry, back up here, you can tell, you know, looking at this bow, there's not a lot of reflex in the riser, which is what really attracted me to this bow in the first place. You know, I shoot, as I'm sure a lot of you know, I shoot the Matthews Traverse. This bow reminded me a lot of the Traverse when I shot it, when our rep brought it by earlier this year. In fact, I think it actually holds a little bit better, which is kind of crazy. And I think part of that is the riser design. You know, these wide limbs, which the Matthews have as well. Just a very, very stable bow. You know, I was purposely trying to torque it and stuff, and obviously you can torque it if you try, but a very stable bow in the hand. You know, again, it's gonna come with kind of this wider grip. Now, I really like that this grip is flat and everything. I'm gonna play around with it. I'm probably gonna end up taking it off and just wrapping it with like KT tape or, you know, a tennis racket grip or something like that. Probably shoot it off the riser. But to be honest, even though this grip is a little bit wider, it's still a really comfortable grip and is a pretty darn stable platform to aim off of. Has the same features of the EVL 32 in terms of where I can mount the stabilizers. So this is on the lower one here. I can also mount it on the more traditional one right below the grip. I do have a back bar mount right down here at the bottom. And what that's really gonna do, getting everything low on the bow like that, like you saw Hoyt do that this year with their little stabilizer nubbin thing right down by the limb pocket. You know, Matthews has that harmonic dampener down low on the riser. And what that does is keeping that center of gravity low really helps that bow basically aim, and just, it gives it that more stable feel. Especially when you get a quiver on a bow, like a hunting quiver full of arrows. Most of that weight is up top here, so it gives that bow a really top heavy feel. And you know, a lot of these bows, there's more riser above your hand than below. And so they're naturally going to want to have that top heavy feel. So by getting everything down low here, keeps that center of gravity low. I think it helps bubble in, like when you're trying to, you know, if you're shooting on like a side hill or uphill or downhill, really helps keep that bow level, and just gives it a really, really nice feel when you're aiming. Another feature this bow has is they give you a lot of different mounting holes for your sight here. So I could even drop this a little bit lower, and where I've really noticed this come in handy setting these up are on like mover sights, especially one like the option. Like a lot of time on that option sight, we have to drop the whole housing way down because the sight housing is so tall and the pins are all the way at the top in order to get any distance. That we're, you know, we have to take the whole thing apart and put it back together basically. And on this, I can just drop where it mounts lower, and then I don't have to move anything on the sight housing itself. So just kind of a cool feature that's, you know, going to come more in handy for your techs, I think, than it might for you. But definitely a nice feature to have. You can get these in 50, 60, 70, 80 pound limbs. This is the 70. You know, right out of the box, it came in at like 71 and a half. So I took like 3 turns out of it and got it right at 70 for the purposes of this video. I think it's going to shoot pretty good speed. So yesterday we set this up for a guy at 29 and a half inches. He was shooting a 432 grain arrow. So not light, but not heavy. And he was shooting it at, it was 296. So definitely an efficient cam. I've always thought this Evolve cam is underrated in terms of its speed. I know last year's bows were, and that's actually kind of refreshing to see a bow that shoots faster than what it's listed, because probably 90% of bows out there, you know, they'll be rated at 340, and even at IBO spec at, you know, 70 pounds, 350 grain arrow, 30 inches, all that, they're, you know, 6 to 8 feet a second slower. These are actually 6 to 8 feet a second faster. Now, if you're a target guy and you're going to be shooting this for target, they do make another module. They call them the speed mods. That will take it, you can go between like a 65 and a 75% let off. Now, I played around with that. There's not, obviously when you start dropping let off, that valley is going to get shorter. You know, you're not going to feel that let off. 65%, especially when you're used to shooting 80, 85, 90, it almost doesn't even feel like there's let off. Like you get back and it just kind of stops. There's no dump into it. I think the standard let off cams are going to be a lot more popular. 80% felt really, really good to me. You know, I think it's going to be good for anything from, you know, 3D to target to hunting, whatever you want to do with it. So really excited about this bow. I think it's going to be a great crossover bow. It's just a good looking bow too. This is the Kuiu camo. They got a bunch of different camos. I'm getting mine in black, I believe. Yeah, so I'm excited to get this through the chronograph. So I'm gonna go get that all set up. And I really wish I could shoot this left-handed. I was trying to do it yesterday, just shoot the right-handed bow left-handed, but with this rest cord on here, it just like smashes into my wrist and I can't draw it. So I wish I could do a little more than just the speed test today, because I think you guys, you know, everybody wants to see my impressions on how this thing holds and aims and shoots and all that. But I can tell you from what I've experienced, when the rep brought it by originally, he brought a left-handed one for me to try, and it was a shooter. So definitely excited for it. How many times have I said that right now? Sorry. But I'm gonna get that chronograph set up, and we're gonna run some arrows through the chrono and get some speeds. All right, so we got the chrono set up. This first test is at 30 inches, 70 pounds, 85% let off. This is a 510 grain FMJ. .274. This is a 485 grain Axis 300. Oh yeah. 278, so not much of a jump there. 450 grain. Axis 340. $285. All right, 415 grain bloodline. Whew, 298. And this is like a 370 grain gold tip 400. Oh, 70 pounds, right-handed. 319. So good speeds. You know, definitely not as fast as, you know, like some of the other models they have, especially like the Expedite. But, you know, at my draw length, I'm not really worried about speed. This bow is more going to be about accuracy. So I'm going to get this set at 28 inches and run those exact same arrows through the Chrono and yeah, see what we get. Okay, so got the Chrono rolling here. This one's gonna be at 28 inches with all the same arrows. So kind of curious to see what this does. So the first arrow again, 510 grains, 28 inches, 70 pounds, 85% let off. $256. So this is a 485 grain arrow. $263. 450 grain arrow. $271. This one's going to be a 415 grain arrow. $281. And last but not least, this is a 360 grain arrow. $297. So kind of about what I expected from a bow with these specs. By no means a speed demon, but not slow either. I'm really looking forward to shooting this thing. I just can't wait till mine gets here. Again, let's get a ticker going for how many times I've said I'm excited for my bow today. But I definitely recommend getting down to your PSE dealer and shooting one of these. Like I said, they've got the 32 and the 34, so kind of fits both your needs there. Kind of curious to see the guys that shot the NXT 33 last year, if they're gonna go down to the 32 or up to the 34. I was really considering the 32, but it seems like every time I go shorter, I end up regretting it. So I just went with the longer version. I'm shooting a 33-inch bow now, so this just kind of felt natural to me. So definitely a lot of cool options on this. It comes in a lot of cool colors and camos. Like I said earlier, everything is just super backed up right now. PSE's backed up, Hoyt's backed up. The only bows we really have in stock constantly are the Matthews. So be patient with your dealer. You know, it's not their fault that they don't have the bows. You know, if PSE doesn't have them to send, we don't have them to sell. But that being said, I think it's worth the wait. So hit me up with any questions in that comment section below. Remember, if you're looking for some hats, the links are in the comment section below here. So there's one for the white and gray and black. If you do not see one of the links, that means we are out, but I know for the time being we have plenty. So thanks for watching today, guys. Remember, precision is a decision. I'll see you on the range.